Hello there everybody, and welcome to a how-to guide for the Transformers TCG. Anthony joining you once again, and today we are going to be talking about a new mechanic that was introduced in Wave 8 Wastelands, as it's a bit of a confusing mechanic. So, without further ado, let's talk about vehicles and stations. So, first off, what exactly are vehicles? Vehicle is a new trait that can appear on characters or stratagems, and anything with the vehicle trait has one or more stations. You can also find battle cards with stations, but those don't have the vehicle trait. Additionally, some vehicle cards have a trait on them that looks like this. That indicates while a character is in the station on the card in question, the character in the station has the trait in question. So, on Greasestain, for example, a character in his station has the motorcycle trait. So that's vehicles, but what exactly is up with these stations? Well, let's take a look at Greasestains with proper orientation. Thank you, and we'll discuss how stations work. First, we have the station name, which is really only there to serve as a point to reference the station specifically in a thematic way. Below that is the station ability, which does whatever it says it is, but there are a few things to note about certain abilities that we'll discuss later. Then off to the left, we have the station requirements and bonuses. For the requirements, all stations have a number present. If you try to put a character into a station, it has to have stars equal to or less than the number present. So for Greasestain, any character trying to hop into his station has to be 11 stars or less, and on combat deck, the character has to be 14 stars or less to get into the repair bay specifically. With Greasestain, though, we see a second requirement that not all stations have. A mode requirement. In addition to the star limit, a character has to be in the specified mode to take the station in question. So on Greasestain, any character in bot mode that's 11 stars or less can take his station. So that's how stations work, but how do you get into them? Well, it happens when a character battles, but it is slightly more complicated than that. On screen, I have the order of operations that happens for an attack before battle flips. From the beginning, this period played out like this. Declare attacker, declare defender, when this attacks triggers, when this defends triggers. Now that vehicles and stations are in the game, we have to add 2 more steps to this, and it now plays out like this. Declare attacker, declare defender, declare attacker's station, declare defender's station, when this attacks triggers, and when this defends triggers. So basically, you put a character into a station after both the attacker and defender have been declared, but before resolving any when this battles triggers or the like, and of course, attacker gets first crack at it. This is important as some stations have when this character attacks, defends, or battles triggers, and the order being like this is needed to make sure those effects actually work. Also, any station effects that read when you take this station trigger the moment the character jumps in, before moving on to the next step in the sequence still on screen. So now you know how to take a station, but are there any restrictions on which stations can be taken at any point in the game? Kind of. For starters, you can't take a station if it's already occupied, so if somebody's already in the repair bay, for example, they have to leave before another character can jump in. Also, with the basic rules for stations, you can't take your opponent's station. These 2 things apply in all situations, but there are slightly different rules beyond this for stratagem and character stations. For stratagem stations, you can take the station as discussed before as long as it's yours and unoccupied. But for characters, there's an extra rule. The character with the station has to be tapped in order for it to be taken, so no jumping into Greasestain Station if he's untapped. So that's getting into stations, but how can you leave them without using a card like Hot Seat? Depends on if it's a character or stratagem station. For stratagems, when all characters untap, you have the option to make your character leave any stratagem station of yours that's occupied. As for character stations, when a character with a station on it untaps, any characters in that character station must leave that station immediately, as a character station cannot be occupied while that character is untapped. Also, if a card with a station on it flips and that station is not present on the side being flipped to, that station is left immediately. You'll most frequently see this with a character flipping to a mode without a station, but for combat deck as an example, if you have a character in the non-repair bay station and combat deck flips, that character gets booted out. Finally, let's quickly touch on battle cards that give stations, looking at Custom Junkie on Saddle as an example. While the battle card is on a character, and while the conditions for the station to exist are met, the station on that battle card is treated as being on the character the upgrade is on. This means the station on the battle card becomes a character station, and all the normal rules apply for that. And because I know this question will come up, if the upgrade giving the station is removed, any character in that station must vacate, as the station no longer exists after the upgrade is removed. So to quickly recap, Vehicle is a new trait that can appear on stratagems or characters, and all vehicles have one or more stations. Stations feature a star limit and possibly a mode requirement that a character must meet to take the station, and a character in a station gets the stat bonuses present, and any traits that look like this are given to the character in that station on the card. There's also the text box that can do a variety of things. To get into a station, a character can jump in after the attacker and defender are declared during a battle, but before attack and defense triggers, with the attacking player going first in that situation. To leave a station, there are a few different ways. You must leave a station if any of the following happen. The character the station is on untaps, the station is no longer present on the card, likely due to the card flipping, the character in the station no longer is under the star limit, or doesn't meet the mode requirement. The upgrade giving the station is removed. Finally, when all characters untap, any character in a stratagem station may either stay in that station or leave it. So with that, that is everything you need to know about vehicles. Again, it's a very complicated mechanic, but hopefully this laid out all the information you need to use them. And if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and we will get back to you to help you sort out what your question is. In the meanwhile, though, hopefully you enjoyed what you saw here today. If you did, there's a little red button you can push down below to show that. And hopefully you get to use some vehicles or get to catch a tournament match with them at some point. With that being said, that will do it for this video. Peace out, y'all.